2. We'll do this once more to make sure that the audio is working, so fingers crossed. Well, welcome to day 2 of your resolution remix challenge here on the Painted Porch. So in day 1, we really were focused on getting clear on what energizes or motivates you. This really sets the foundation for setting yourself on a path for resolution or intention or goal setting success. As I mentioned yesterday, we're not huge fans of resolutions here on the porch. We like to do something a little bit different and really focus on an intention, an overall goal that we want to achieve, but make sure that we're also focusing on things that we have control over. We'll get more into that as the week progresses. So again, yesterday we looked at getting really clear on what energizes or motivates you, because like I said yesterday, often the reason why we lose our resolve for our resolutions or fall off the wagon is because they become things that are shoulds, the I shoulds or I ought tos or I need tos, but those things aren't necessarily aligned with what jazzes you up, gets you out of bed in the morning, and gets you excited to do what needs to be done, even if it is work. So often, sometimes the things that on the outside might seem like a bit of work or a drudge, often are things that do motivate and energize us. So we want to make sure that you identify what motivates or energizes you as a person, both in your life, in your work, and everywhere and anywhere in between, whether it's church, volunteering, whatever communities that you're also a part of. So that was day 1. That was setting a foundation to get really clear on why you bother to show up every day in your life. So now we're going to skip to day 2. So day 1 was all about getting clear on what energizes and motivates you. So now for day 2, we're going to take that one step further, and we're going to focus on what your priorities are in your life. What is most important to you? And I'd like you to actually rank them 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is really helpful because, again, in addition to those motivations and what energizes you, you want to make sure that when you're setting these big goals or even these little tiny goals, that they are aligned with what you value most, what is most important to you. Because we want to make sure that, number 1, they are aligned, but number 2, when the what hits the fan, that it's incongruent and it's aligned with and not in conflict with what you value most in your life and with your family. So one thing I do want to talk about is that a great way to think about this, which was very surprising for me, in our Create Extraordinary Teams program, our partner on the porch, Sierra Cantrell, she talked about how she worked at a 5-diamond resort here in Arizona. And the general manager of that hotel, he had his top 4 priorities. Now, you would think as a general manager of a 5-diamond, pretty fancy hotel here in Arizona, that his top priorities as the man in charge were things like, create amazing experiences for our customers, reduce the amount of complaints, increase return customers, and maybe reduce turnover. That's what you might think. That's what you would typically think if you were going to be attending some sort of town hall with your boss and your company. But surprisingly, his priorities were his priorities for him holistically in his life, his work, and everywhere in between. So for this individual, his priorities in number of importance were, number 1, God, or whomever spiritual guide you tend to follow or believe in. Number 2, family. Number 3, friends. And number 4, work. It's pretty surprising, right? It's not the things that you would typically think that the guy who's leading a very well-appointed and well-regarded hotel in Arizona would rank. But he was very clear on it. Everyone who worked at the organization was clear. It was included as part of new hire orientation. And it was something that was repeated, and it was used as a ruler to measure against any future strategic decision or idea that they had as a company. And so we want to take that same principle and apply it here with you today and throughout the rest of this week and throughout the year as you begin to flip the script on your resolutions. So I'd like you to take a couple minutes here and think about what your top 4 priorities are and be very clear about the number, because we always want to make sure that whenever we are making a decision about who it is we want to become or where and what ways we want to grow, that it is aligned and it's congruent with what is most important to us, what we value most, and it's not forcing us to choose or go against what is aligned with us as a person holistically, both life, work, and in between. So take those couple minutes. It might be something like number 1, your family. Number 2, your community. Number 3, maybe your financial health. And number 4, maybe your relationships. So again, take a couple minutes here. Think about what your top 4 priorities are. And we're going to take both what we did yesterday and today. And when we meet tomorrow, we're going to bring those together and start to think about how we want to shape and mold what the future us looks like over short term and then for the long run. So thank you again for day 2 of our resolution remix. I hope to see you again tomorrow on the Painted Porch. And until then, let me know what your top 4 priorities are in the chat. I would love to see that and see how different people are lining up or if you have alignment with others. So until then, see you tomorrow.